I think one of the most interesting things about the Black Ops universe specifically is the way that they take the history of the real world and intertwine it with the fictional story of Black Ops. I really don't think there's a better example of this than Alex Mason in Black Ops 1. With Alex Mason in Black Ops 1, yes, they go through several particular wars, speaking of Vietnam or in Russia, things along those lines throughout that time period, but specifically what Alex Mason goes through. If you didn't know already, essentially Alex Mason gets brainwashed by the Russians and then is brought back to the CIA and they try to deprogram that brainwashing. As it turns out, this had a name in the real world going by MK Ultra. You may have heard it before because yes, it is mentioned throughout the Black Ops games.
I trusted him. That's why it worked. It was their attempt at MK Ultra.
But what you maybe didn't know is that MK Ultra was a very real thing tested by the CIA, and also the different versions of it have been used in several different Black Ops games throughout the Black Ops series. So in this video, that's exactly what we're doing. We're diving into the real story of MK Ultra.
I was given a glass of Kool-Aid, and so were the other children.
Patients at psychiatric hospitals, prisoners in federal institutions, and even people in the public were given drugs without their awareness. The objective was to get people to go and commit an act of murder against their moral code and have no memory of their programming and be amnesic even of the act after the fact often.
It was after the Korean War that some American POWs were freed and brought back to America. However, when they got there, they didn't quite seem right, and American officials assumed that they were submitted to communist propaganda, having beliefs that they truly believed that they did not have before they were taken POWs. It was at this point that the CIA got approved for $25 million of funding to do psychological testing of drugs and experiments on randomized people. Now, it was 1963 that Alex Mason escaped from Vorkuta prison, but as we found out, inside Vorkuta prison, he was submitted to the very first testings of MK Ultra. Like those POWs that we talked about after the Korean War, Alex Mason was submitted to communist brainwashing. And upon returning to the United States of America, we quickly found out that there was things put inside of his head, specifically numbers, that we didn't know what they did. Now, we also found out that during this time, there was someone in the prison by the name of Victor Reznov. Victor Reznov was running, I guess you could say, counter brainwashing and countermeasures to MK Ultra being run on Alex Mason. Now, throughout the rest of the game, the Americans are trying to decode what has happened inside of Alex Mason's head. Once again, just like those POWs that we saw at the end of the Korean War. Should sound very familiar. But this isn't going to be the only thing that sounds familiar. Fast forward to Black Ops 6. In Black Ops 6, there was a little division founded by the name of the Advanced Technology and Applications Division. Now, turns out this division was founded to counteract Alex Mason's brainwashing. However, they then transitioned, similar to the CIA, into making super soldiers, specifically using a product by the name of Cradle.
They tried so hard to perfect the Cradle case, but the side effects couldn't be stopped. As we know, we were the first and last trial volunteer. So its makers repurposed it into a biological weapon instead.
Now, as we saw at the very beginning there, this was something the CIA intended to do, create soldiers that were meant to follow orders without question. However, they didn't do so using Cradle. In fact, the thing that they tried was doing this using LSD. In fact, they had a little something, if you've never heard of it, by the name of Operation Midnight Climax. Now, this is going to sound unbelievable, but essentially what this was an operation within the CIA where the CIA would go to brothels, they'd speak to some of the ladies and hire them to bring back men to a specific motel or hotel. And at this hotel, the CIA would have set up a viewing experience, a voyeur experience, if you will. And when they got back to the hotel, the lady of the night would slip the man a little bit of LSD, and then the experiments would begin. From behind a one-way mirror, the CIA would be watching, and just like the Russians did to Alex Mason, what was the point of the CIA doing this in the real world? Well, let's let the CIA answer for that.
As this 1952 CIA memo says, the aim is controlling an individual to the point where he will do our bidding against his will, and even against such fundamental laws of nature as self-preservation.
But this is just one example of one of the things that they did with MK Ultra. It's also only one example of what Black Ops has done with it. In fact, in a couple of different situations, we can see this. Starting off, once again, let's go to Black Ops 6. Diving into the character of Case. He was in the Advanced Technology and Applications Division, but was brainwashed by them to never be able to speak of Pantheon or remember Pantheon or Cradle, therefore essentially deleting his memories.
Remember your training, Case 1. You can never speak of the Cradle program or the Pantheon division. Never. Doing so could have unpredictable consequences.
Turns out the CIA was doing this in real life as well. In a place called Allen Memorial Institute in Montreal, there was a CIA scientist by the name of Dr. Cameron who was working there. He would take in patients with various different things. One example was asthma. Another example was something by the name of trigeminal neuralgia, which essentially is a really bad pain in your face. But he would take in these patients promising to help them and then do these crazy experiments on them without their permission, one of which was trying to erase their memories.
Page Russell shock treatment is approximately 40 to 75 times the strength of a normal shock treatment. So it's really designed to wipe out the memory.
And this is something that we would see go even deeper in Black Ops Cold War, because there was a character by the name of Bell. Now, Bell originally was working for Perseus, but when he was shot in the back of a Jeep, Russell Adler saw this as an opportunity to take him, essentially brainwash him, using Project MK Ultra on him, essentially erasing his old memories and replacing them with memories of him actually being a Marine or in the United States Army alongside Russell Adler. But he still wanted access to some of his memories that he remembered about Perseus. And I get it, you may be saying that sounds impossible. If they're shocking someone to delete their memories, how are they implanting new ones? Well, as it turns out, they found a way.
They also claimed that they had released everything they had. I found the same report where West said that he had learned how to replace true memories with false ones without a person's awareness, but they had removed that from the report and then released it to Congress.
Interrogation didn't work with you, but thanks to MK Ultra's research, we had a backup plan. If you believed you were someone else, we could lead you to a place where you'd give everything up.
So far with MK Ultra in Black Ops, we have the implantation of ideas and creating of sleeper agents via MK Ultra, which we see through Alex Mason.
You were programmed at Vorkuta to translate the number codes. Only you can tell us what the codes mean. Nova 6 was just one of the sleeper operations, but I'm sure there were others. Ones we didn't even know about.
We saw replacing memories with Bell in Black Ops Cold War.
The CIA's MK Ultra program used Adler's missions in Vietnam as a template. We needed you to have that shared experience, that lifelong bond, to establish trust.
Then, after that, we saw the removal of memories through Case in Black Ops 6.
Remember your training, Case 1. You can never speak of the Cradle program or the Pantheon division. Never. Doing so could have unpredictable consequences.
And this is the last circumstance where we see MK Ultra.
Its official name is Phenosorazine, but MK Ultra coined its separation. I've had it for a while. Let's hope it doesn't have an expiration date. In most test subjects, it fragmented their psyche, a form of induced schizophrenia. We're gonna find the part of Harrow that's willing to talk to us.
Now, that drug that Adler mentions does not exist in the real world, at least not that I could find. However, phenothiazine does exist, and in fact what it is to treat disorders like schizophrenia, multiple personality disorder, and other psychotic disorders as well, like multiple personality disorder. However, what it appears as though Russell Adler is doing here is trying to induce her background, her as a child. And in fact, that is exactly what we see. We see Jane Harrow revert back to her childhood to get memories and to figure out what exactly is going on in her head.
It's going to be all right.
No.
Something happened here.
And guess what? This existed too.
Dr. Cameron pursued a concept he called depatterning, which was meant to reduce patients to an infantile psychological state wherein doctors could take advantage of the person's cognitive vulnerability to attempt to rebuild their mind under the doctor's control.
So rebuilding someone's mind under the doctor's control. And in fact, one weird thing about this is that in both Cold War and Black Ops 6, Sims actually refers to Adler as Doc.
Damn, you're the eye socket. You sure about this, Doc?
I can get you close. But Doc, this is it for me. I'm on a different path now.
So yes, every single time that MK Ultra has been used within the Black Ops universe, there has been similar cases within the real world as well. And I hope you guys kind of enjoyed me diving into the real world aspects of some of the things brought up inside of Call of Duty. And in fact, if you would like to see me do this more with the kind of real world side of stories, show me by hitting that like button. But there's one more thing we have to address with Call of Duty. Because in fact, there is one more thing that has happened in the real world. Sometimes these people being brainwashed, or at least being told that they were brainwashed, isn't real. For example, remember those people who came back from Korea as POWs? What if they were never brainwashed in Korea, rather brainwashed right at home?
What a lot of researchers believe is that they actually brainwashed them into thinking they'd been brainwashed by the Koreans, where they actually were telling the truth.
And what he means by that is that those Koreans that came home as POWs stated that the Americans were using illegal weapons that would have been violating war crimes within Korea. But they told them that they'd been brainwashed in Korea to believe that, because Americans would never do that. But as it turns out, they might have never been brainwashed by the Koreans, but by their own. And what if we take another look at Black Ops 1? The game starts out with Alex Mason sitting in a chair being interrogated, or maybe he's not being interrogated. Maybe he's being brainwashed, because in fact, it was the Americans that told him that Viktor Reznov never made it out of Vorkuta. Yet when you go into the computer, you very clearly see emails from someone codenamed John Trent, who has information that only Viktor Reznov had. So what if in Vorkuta, Alex Mason was never really brainwashed? He only started to be brainwashed when he was in that chair. Well, that would be a video for another day. And if that's something you'd like to see, show me by hitting that like button, letting me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace.